If you were a boat, my darling, a boat, my darling, I'd be the wind at your back. If you were asleep, then I'd be a dream. Wherever you are, that's where my heart will be.
Stay right on one of the world's greatest wonders, Southern Great Barrier Reef, where great begins.
Hello and a very warm welcome wherever you may be watching from this year. I'm David Hamilton, Commodore of the Queensland Cruising Yacht Club. On behalf of our members and hard-working committee, I'm honoured to launch Queensland's premier and longest running offshore race and one of the most esteemed sailing events in Australia, the Gladstone Ports Corporation's 76th Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race. With a fleet of around 40 yachts this year, we have participants ranging from top-tier professionals to the families who own their cruiser races, crewed by weekend sailors, all sharing their love for this event. This year is particularly special because for the first time in 59 years, we are partnering with the Multi-Hull Yacht Club of Queensland and running a joint Brisbane to Gladstone event. We anticipate an exciting race covering the 308 nautical miles, and we know whatever the conditions, racing will be hard fought and close. Our sincere appreciation goes to our naming rights partner, Gladstone Ports Corporation, who are celebrating their 110th birthday this year, the Gladstone Regional Council, our live stream sponsor, Adina Watches, our official timekeeper, Quality Marine Clothing, Brisbane City Council, and all the other sponsors, supporters, and tireless volunteers who make this race possible. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the 76th start of this great race.
Welcome to Brisbane, Australia's vibrant river city.
A city rich in culture, contemporary art, and a vibrant music scene.
From shopping sprees to tantalising culinary delights, Brisbane is Australia's gateway to unforgettable experiences.
And it's also the starting point of a yacht race steeped in over 3/4 of a century of tradition.
In around about an hour, about 4 nautical miles out there, the Gladstone Ports Corporation Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race will start for the 76th year.
And the crews will be keen as mustard to cross the start line and begin their 308 nautical miles north to the beautiful Gladstone Harbour. Good luck, Johnny.
Thanks, Matty. We're looking forward to it.
After a lot of water passes under their keel, our magnificent racers will cross the finish line right here at our beautiful Gladstone Ports Corporation East Shores Patsy Lee Place.
Yachts are guided into the picturesque Gladstone Marina, where like magic, weary crews will spring back to life.
And wash away any saltwater taste. Thanks, Salish, at our world famous Gladstone Yacht Club.
So let's get into it. This is the Gladstone Ports Corporation 76th Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race.
being streamed live to the world through the Brisbane to Gladstone Facebook and web pages. On the jumbo screen at East Shores in Gladstone, on the big screen in King George Square, and those watching at the long lunch being held in the B2G Village in Gladstone. And on Australia's premium sports streaming service, KO Sports. Welcome to Brisbane. I'm Grant Cooper, and because they've been good little commentators for the past 365 days, joining me again in the epicentre of sailing, the focus of world yachting in the central commentary position, high on top of the QCYC here in Sandgate. Two prominent figures in the world of sailing, Aussie champion sailor, coach and sailing analyst, and the anchorman of the world's most popular sailing broadcast, Bar Karate. Jordan Spencer, good morning.
Wow, what a plug. Great to see you, mate. Always pumped up to see you, bud.
365 days I've worked on that intro.
You did well.
Is that all?
In the middle, a woman who has obviously cloned herself successfully, as no person could report on the number of world sailing events in this single entity. World champion sailor, journalist, creator of social media empire, Adventures of a Sailor Girl. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Douglas, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I mean, what did you take this morning to be so positive? He's ready to go.
Yep, lots of caffeine, lots of caffeine. Well, look, 40 will be on Moreton Bay today, ready for this race. The sun has just gone behind a cloud, but it is absolutely picture-perfect conditions, and we will talk about that in a little bit of a while. But these conditions could make for the most thrilling and possibly the closest race in years, and it's going to be very difficult to predict some line honours favourites. So let's get it out there straight away. I'm going to ask, give us a rundown on what boats you think are going to be able to perform well in these conditions, which have been changing for the last week. Really, at one stage we were looking at rain, 25 knots, and now we're looking at sunshine and 10 to 15.
Can we just say thank you to the weather gods, as you mentioned, with sunshine. We've got this southerly, southeasterly breeze, 10 to 15 knots, perhaps up to 20, and that's just going to look absolutely glorious. We've seen a few shots of that 100-footer Wild Thing out there. Used to be an 80. She looks absolutely glorious, and no doubt will be chomping at the bit. But I'm actually going to put my money on RP66 Alive, current Tattersall Cup holder. They won the Rolex Sydney Hobart for the second time in 5 years this year, and I think they could do the double. I'm saying it here first. I reckon they could do line honours and take handicap. That's my pick.
All right. Look, I'll hand it over to the man that's got a furrowed brow because he doesn't believe that
No,
for
he
one
doesn't.
moment.
100% I'm with Nick.
Oh my gosh.
Alive is my favourite boat on the water at the moment. She's been great for the last few years. Owned by Philip Turner, skippered by Duncan Hyne. It's chock-a-block full of some of the top ocean pros in the world. You got Stewie Bannatyne on there, Adrian Cahalan, Brad Ferrand, Silas Nolan, the great South Australian, and of course Gavin Brady, who may or may not be one of the top sailors on the planet as well. So that boat is well and truly stocked. Conditions are looking really favourable. Some of the downwind flyers will go really, really, really well, but it does square up a little bit across the ditch later on or tomorrow. And I think that that sort of windward lured shape of Alive will really kick it in. Of course, full line honours.
Yeah, look.
Wild Thing, big battle.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, I've got to say that I'm going to throw a real smoky in there at this stage.
Here we go.
I know. But I know these guys have been sailing this boat very fast of late, and I'd like to say Mark Carter's Mayfair might just be... No, I think that she'll get the right conditions. And she'll
line honours?
Go, yeah?
I told you he had something positive this morning, Jordan.
All right, so maybe not line honours, but at least I'll go for the Courier Mail Cup. I think she's built beautifully. She's 46-foot Rogers, and each year I look at that boat and go, it is gorgeous, and I want it to do well. So there you go.
Positive thinking. Maybe you will will them across the line.
Positive thinking.
Grant.
Look, let's talk about how everybody can keep an eye on the yachts, and that is the same an application. If you've downloaded over the past few years, it's the YB Yacht Tracker. Now you can get onto the YB Yacht Tracker in a number of ways. You can go to the Brisbane to Gladstone.com website, or you can actually download the YB Tracker from I think it's the iPhone store and the
Apple store.
Googly thing, all that sort of stuff.
That's the best way to do it. I have it on my phone, and then any yacht race that's going on. But of course, this one is front and center right now. You can grab it off the YB Races app.
Yep. Leaderboards, review the map, course, have a look. Our boats have performed. It's a very good app. I suggest you download it for the Android or iOS applications, or just look at it on your website on your desktop. Do people still use those desktops?
Absolutely.
It's actually super cool to look at it on your desktop too, because you can rewind it, you can go back, see where people made tactical decisions. I quite like doing it that way.
All right, if you want to get a little bit more up close and personal, I actually have said this for the last 4 or 5 years since the COVID year, when I actually raced online, and we're talking about the SailOnline.org virtual Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race, where I came 8th. I'm going to hold on to that for some time.
I was going to say, you're going to keep pulling this up for the next 25 years.
I know, but look, I was in the top 3 until I fell asleep somewhere around the top of Fraser Island, and or I should say the correct
Team
name.
up.
Yeah, Kigali.
There's your first error.
Kagari, yes.
But there's your first error. You need to find a teammate and make sure your teammate does the night shift and you do the day shift.
Yep.
Someone on the other side of the world.
So
Exactly.
you've only got a few more minutes to actually get on Sailing Online, register, and then learn how to sail the boat. But it is actually a lot of fun, and this year it is a TP52 Celestial that you'll be racing, and all the other people there. Last time I checked, I think there was over 60 entrants. So that's fantastic. So if you want to check it out, it is the virtual B2G, SailingOnline.org. You can get on that and check it all out. So there we go. Look at the time. We're only 48 minutes away from the start of the 76th Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race, brought to you, of course, by the main naming rights sponsor, the Gladstone Ports Corporation, and this broadcast is coming to you with thanks to the Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone.
The 76th Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race is brought to you by our principal naming rights partner, the Gladstone Ports Corporation, celebrating 110 years of operation. Adina Watches, official timekeeper of the B2G. The generous support from these race partners. And this live stream event is brought to you by the Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone.
It's been 110 years since the Gladstone Harbour Board convened for its first meeting. From these humble beginnings to where we stand today, the Gladstone Ports Corporation has had an incredible journey. Grateful to every member of the team, past and present, whose contributions have shaped the port's success. Gladstone Ports Corporation. Growth. Prosperity. Community.
What's that they told you? Keep your head down. No, just stick with the crowd. Or something unexpected might happen. And you can't have that now, can you?
Welcome back to the Gladstone Ports Corporation Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race 2024 as we count down to the start at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as you can see, beautiful conditions out on Moreton Bay. Nice little breeze there. I think everybody is going to have an absolute marvellous trip to Gladstone.
And two of our magnificent TP52s there in frame. You can see Maritimo in the background and Celestial, who won the Tattersall Cup in the Rolex Sydney Hobart overall in 2022, but also took line honours in the Brisbane to Gladstone race last year.
Correct.
Yeah, actually, while we're talking about Brisbane to Gladstone or winners, or even more so Sydney to Hobart winners, we've got another Sydney to Hobart winner last year's alive, which we will feature during the broadcast as well. But have a look at this thing. This is Hutchie's Yeah Baby, and Andy Lamont was our guest last year live from the boat. But she's a beautiful craft, Jordan.
Yeah, fantastic history, this one. So this was the old Heaven Can Wait for many. Well, it's the deck off the old Heaven Can Wait, and then a new hull that's been put in underneath. So Warren Johns originally had that boat, then Rod Jones, I think, sort of did a lot of work on it, and his crew did a lot of work. This thing should rate really, really well. It's a nice all-round boat, 50-foot Wellborn, and definitely been modernised, but has the age group advantage on the rating. So definitely one to watch. Nice big bowsprit, perfect setup for this race. Be a lot of fun.
Yep, and can I say that Andy's most favoured B2G memory was last year. The Sunday night presentation night was the best he's ever been to, he said. So there we go. Here's Stephanie Kerins active again, who carried an onboard camera for us last year in the rain. But it's good to see Steph back, and hopefully she'll be able to compete this year. They broke their mainsail last year, and they had actually a very bad injury on board. It was
indeed, and you can see them fiddling with their mainsail there. I thought they were going for a reef, but they're actually just going for a retrim. But 2019 was the winner of the Jane Tate Memorial Trophy in the Rolex Sydney Hobart, which is the first female across the line. They campaigned it pretty heavily up until then, and then they've been taking a bit of a back seat recently. But yeah, Humphrey's 54. She should do reasonably well downwind.
Named after the original active, which Jane Tate originally sailed on.
So nice.
There you go. Now, listen, this year, for the first time in 59 years, the multi-hulls will start alongside the mono-hulls. And this is Top Gun. She's from, I think is it Merib? No, Moreton Bay Yacht Club? Yep. I'll have to check that out. But
I believe she is from Southport.
Southport.
And, yeah, she's a Crowther 50, owned by Greg Older. Got a pretty rocking crew on board. Joel Turner, Peter Lahi, Annie Eastgate, Martin Comer and Max Marion. They're going to do a great job on that flyer.
They're going to be wet.
They're going to be really
very wet.
It's going to be wet, but they don't have to be wet for long because they will be in early on Saturday morning with these conditions. So we're looking forward to seeing Top Gun in there, and I dare say she'll be in there before most of the mono hulls. But anyway, that's yet to be seen. As we sweep the starting area, have a look at there's quite a few of the spectator craft starting to come out. Here's Black Diamond. We will actually be talking with Glenn Burrell a little bit later on. He's going to be talking to us live after getting around the Redcliffe rounding mark. But Black Diamond, beautiful boat.
As the pressure comes up, this thing will just be smoking. It'll love a hard charging downwinder. There's quite a few boats in the fleet that do actually enjoy that, but this thing is a Reichel Pew 42. It's not a GP 42, as it's been pointed out to me many times.
Yeah.
I've said it once, and everyone keeps reminding me, but it's a RP 42. It will absolutely love the first hard day of charging. It go a little squarer, will probably slow its rating down a little bit as it goes squarer later on, about 24 hours' time.
Cheering them across the line this year as well. They've had a few years where they haven't made the finish line, but I know that they're raring to go this year. Young crew out of Southport Yacht Club.
Is it my imagination, or have we got an absolute swag of 40-foot boats this year? Is it?
It's like a deck of cards, I think. They're all 40 foot long. We'll just, keep sweeping them off the deck.
Except for this one. This one is a TP52. Maritimo, they've bought the TP out this year. And, of course, an absolute legend skipper on board.
Yeah, Mr. Michael Spees, absolute stalwart of not only the sport, but also many races up and down the East Coast. This Glamour, as you mentioned, is one in their fleet of 2 boats at the moment. They've also been racing the Schumacher 54, but opted for the TP 52 this year. And I know, how good is that? We'll just whip out the 52 instead of the 54. 54 likes the upwind race, and the 52 likes the downwind. So I'm pretty sure they'll go well this year. They I got a forecast earlier from Speezy, and they think it's going to suit them really well. They'll probably go their A3 and not a code 0 to get off the start line.
That is an older TP design. Like, it won the inaugural TP 52 World Champs. This is a slightly newer one, and certainly this is one of the favourites for winning overall. Has won this event overall. Won the Sydney Hobart overall in 22. Celestial. They've done a lot of modernising of this boat. A lot of good high-level sailors on this boat, but a lot of youth as well in the crew.
Yeah, Charlie Wyatt on board, as you mentioned, one of the youth. I think Finn Rodowish is doing his first with Celestial. He's on board. Charlie Gundy as well, Harrison West. But then you've got stalwarts like Callum Cecil and doesn't look like... Oh, and Alex Nolan. Yeah, he's an absolute glamour. Jack McCartney's the boat captain. And they've been together for a while now. They're quite a unit. So it'll be really interesting to see how they go.
Yeah, Alex Nolan, the former captain of Blackjack 100. And while we're talking about 100s, perfect segue into Wild Thing 100. And this is Grant Warrington's Frankenstein.
Yep.
It was the Bosun 80. And Stefan, that you would know from a couple of years ago. But she's now, well, she was on screen, but she's now 100 foot long. We'll talk about her very soon. Here's Tribalistic. Here's another one of the cats or the tri. Is this a trimaran?
Rapido 50.
Tribalistic, yeah.
So this is a Rapido is a cruiser racer catamarans. These things are very, very fast, very comfortable, very nice. This would be the boat I would be buying to go for a yacht. The Rapido 50 rocket ship. Whoever's on, they've got a little cockpit where the skipper sits up there. The thing just, you turn it on and off it goes, and that thing will fly for a cruising boat. Very happy toy to go down on. Black Diamond back in front of us again, Glen Burrell. So that Reichel Pew 42. Very much looking for a bit more wind. The wind will freshen. We'll touch on the weather forecast shortly, but it's about 10 to 12 out there. We'll be doubling up on that. But this boat is an absolute rocket ship downwind.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it formerly was a Blackjack. It was actually Blackjack 2.
Yep.
And while we're talking about Blackjack, I just want to give a shout out. I was reading the notes again, and the Blackjack 100 we've missed for a little while, but there's been 9 wins for Blackjack yachts over the years, which is pretty cool. And Alive, which we've been talking about so highly, was also a Blackjack. So there's a bit of heritage in this race with the Blackjack.
A quick shout out to Peter Harburg, who will be watching, no doubt. And I saw Peter on TV the other day. Actually, he was at a car rally. He had one of his beautiful cars down in Adelaide. So I saw him on TV, and I went, that's a real different spot for our former owner of Blackjack 100. Yeah, good, and a shout out. There we go. So Moreton Bay in all its glory. Actually, I don't even think is that 10 knots? Seriously?
Yeah, well, the wind always looks lighter on a screen. That's the truth. The waves and wind always look less than they are, but there's definitely 10 to 12, maybe 15 out there in the gusts. It's just starting to climb, but yeah.
Do you think it looks less from the air as well? So I feel like we've got it on the screen and it's from the air, but you can see how the boats are moving. It is probably 10, but it's meant to build for the rest of the afternoon. The tide is going to be high about an hour after the start as well, so a good current for them as they're running up the channel. And Ocean Crusaders is on the screen. I think this is a fan favourite. We'll make it fan favourite anyway.
Commentator's favourite.
Commentator's favourite, that's for sure.
Yes, in a little while we'll actually be speaking with Annika. She's going to be calling in. We'll have a bit of a chat to her and about her expectations for the race and her gun crew. Was originally a TP52, but Tomo got to it and did a complete redesign on it, mate.
Same hull, so it's still a TP52 hull, but the deck, when they bought it, was pretty toast. It was a balsa deck and full of water, so they've replaced that and made it sort of what they call a racer cruiser, fully sustainable energy powered. They've had it 8,000 nautical miles, never used a drop of fuel to power that boat.
That's my favourite bit. And they also were the first boat to win a double-handed across the line in the Rolex Sydney Hobart, and she's won the Jane Tate Memorial Trophy as well. Annika Thompson is the skipper, proud skipper, and Tomo, her other half, and her sail that boat together, as well as campaigning for ocean health with their business Ocean Crusaders, which is just incredible. So hence they're the commentator's favourite.
There you go. We've been lucky enough to get 2 cameras on board this year, and as you'll see from this shot, Michael Smith has kindly allowed us to be on the back of Tempo. Now, she's Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, come up from the south, and we'd like to welcome as many southerners to this northern race. It's just a beautiful, relaxing downwind fly, isn't it? That's how we're going to market it.
Well, but, it will be this year. It wasn't last year.
Nick.
I'm so
I'm trying to bring as many Southerners up. So we'd like to see more and more Sydney boats. But Tempo Racing, we'll get some great shots from her after the start. And we thank Michael for allowing our camera on board that boat. So this is the Gladstone Ports Corporation, Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race, the 76th. And this broadcast is being brought to you by the Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone.
The 76th Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race is brought to you by our principal naming rights partner, the Gladstone Ports Corporation, celebrating 110 years of operation. Quality marine clothing, keeping the marine industry looking good. The generous support from these race partners. And this live stream event is brought to you by the Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone.
This is my backyard. 1770 to the Boyne Valley. Gladstone all the way to Lady Musgrave Island. This is my home, and I will explore every last place.
Where do you wanna go? Mountain under sky. Where do you wanna go? Well, maybe we could fly. Where do you wanna go? It's time to wonder why. Where do you wanna go? While we're still got time. And while I've waited, won't you wait with me? While I'm waiting, won't you set me free? Go on and set me free.
Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race. Yes, we are here, and it's the 76th Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race. Of course, thanks to our naming right partners, Gladstone Ports Corporation, and this live stream brought to you by the Gladstone Regional Council. Fantastic for Gladstone, again, to be pushing so much effort into sailing, and they'll come into the beautiful marina from Saturday morning onwards and enjoy Easter in Gladstone. Let's have a look at some of these wonderful yachts that are getting around here. Who have we got in frame there? Just coming past our Mahoti, the finished start boat.
Yeah, this is SAR-12. It's second across the line in the Melbourne to Hobart this year, and, 23, and did the Melbourne Osaka back many years ago. So looks like a little pocket rocket. Be very happy. Mr. Saar doesn't live too far from me, I don't think. So designer of that boat. But yeah, Reason, looking forward to it.
Okay, now listen, we know that your broadcasts of the weather predictions have become famous,
have they?
Mr. Spencer. So let's get your take on what our boats are going to be experiencing as they head towards the harbour city.
Well, we're in a pretty stable pattern at the moment, so you can see we've got a nice wide shot of the Queensland coast, and you can see that sort of effectively trade wind action of southeast breezes. Right where we're zooming right in there, you can see the bay that we're going to be starting inside, that little island of North Stradbroke Island. So slightly less wind. We're starting in around 10 to 15 from the southeast. Now, that wind should freshen, especially once we pop out past Bribie Island, which is that little island just on the left hugging the shore. We'll go past and then up and You can see the wind starts to build. Expectations are pretty stable. This wind pattern has been 15 to 20 knots for a few weeks, continue for at least another week. And it is very much what we expect throughout the night. I'm expecting that to slightly pick up, maybe get 20, 25. And then once you get around the top of Fraser going across the ditch, it might just switch slightly to the left and go a tiny bit more south. So far this morning it was setting up in the south, and it's gradually moving around to the east slightly and freshening. But that 10 to 15 for the start, and then southeast all the way through.
While we've got Kagari on the screen there, let's flick over to the currents and have a look at.
This is serious.
Now
Look at
this is where you decide whether you're going out or staying in.
Where would you go, Grant?
In.
Gee, I tell you what.
That sounded like Grant, didn't it? In.
Tell you what, have a look at that. Now, that is the EAC for those who can remember.
We need that turtle
Finding
crash.
Nemo.
Yeah.
Yes, now that's you can see the currents. But going in this year will not exactly be favourable from a wind angle. Do you think?
No, it'll be fine. They'll be able to, a lot of will go triple head sails, particularly the modern boats, so they'll go triple head sails up the front, and they will absolutely smoke, and they'll bring their apparent wind right forward, be planing full speed, and yeah, it should be great.
All right, well, there you go. Okay, let's cross now out onto Moreton Bay. We have a special guest who is joining us from on board her own boat, and she'll be sailing away in about 30 minutes' time. This is Annika, and g'day, Annika, and welcome to the Brisbane to Gladstone broadcast.
Thank you so much. We are so happy to be here.
Oh, it's so fantastic to see you in person, Annika. I know you're excited to have a full crew of friends and family, essentially. It'll be fun.
Yes, we do. I am so excited. Some of this crew haven't been now sailing together for a year, a little bit of, and so yes, we're starting to build a good team, and we are very happy to be here. People flying in from Adelaide, Sydney, Airlie Beach, and just having a good sail up the coast.
Annika, Jordan here. Great to see you again. Long time no speak. Just on I can see the Doyle logo on the sails. You've got a great partnership with Doyle now, and doing some amazing work as part of your Clean Up the Ocean crusade.
Yes, we are. We are so happy for the partnership with Doyle. So we will clean up plastic out of the oceans for every sold sail that they do. It's great. It's just very future. We are playing with lots of plastic in the yachting world, and we just have to do our part, because at the end of the day we do like sailing.
We saw Tomo stick his head in the background there. It's definitely a partnership between you two, but it looks like you've got a 50-50 crew with men and women, which is great to see as well. But I wanted to talk to you about your rum bunny competition, Annika. How do we get involved?
Straight into the rum bunnies. The Easter hunt is on. Let's go. So if you take a photo with yourself with a lint bunny and pouring some gay rum into it before you drink it all, and send that in to us, we have a competition on the spot on the Jaybird up in Airlie Beach Race Week.
Terrific. All right, I'm going to be involved with that. Tony Flynn, I hope you're listening. Rum bunnies tonight or tomorrow morning, definitely. You might be able to give us a bit of an understanding of the conditions. We've been getting drone shots there, Annika, but it looks a lot lighter than what is expected.
Yeah, at the moment we just have 6 knots over the deck, so it is a little bit of a light patch in here. We hope that breeze is still holding on out there. You just sail to the conditions that we have at the moment. Lots of sail changes in the bay.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if you had to pick one boat that you definitely want to beat over the line, Annika, which one would that be? Here's a time to start that rivalry that you've always wanted. So give it to them. Who do you want to beat home?
You know what? We have a saying on Jaybird that we want everyone to have a really good race, no breakage behind us.
Yes. I would suggest that's almost sitting on the fence, to tell you the truth. But
that sounded pretty clear to me, John.
They want to win.
They want to win.
Annika, can we just say Sorry. Can we just say thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you such a safe and fast trip to Gladstone, and we look forward to Rum Bunnies a little bit later on, maybe on Saturday or Super Sunday.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it too, and yeah, good luck to everyone.
Good on you. Thanks, Annika. We appreciate your time today. And there's Annika and her husband, Tomo, in the back there. Jesus, he's a quite retiring
Tomo.
Yeah.
Shy.
So shy, isn't he? Yeah.
Decent-sized human being too. So.
We're in the last 25 minutes before the start, yeah, look, you can just see some of those, the bigger boats and smaller boats. And may I just say, we haven't mentioned, but we will mention very, very soon, that some of the smaller boats in the fleet, the ones that we probably haven't said too much about, but we've got to remember last year, all these exotic designs that we've been talking about. Last year, the Courier Mail Cup winner was Joanne Brodie, the 1960 launched Alan Payne design. So no doubt we'll see her, but we've been talking about all these exotic fast flyers, and this boat just chugs away and wins the Courier Mail Cup. Here's another boat that we like. This is Port Curtis Sailing Club's second entry, and this is, Saskia is full front and centre there.
Yep.
But this is Balancing Act from the Port Curtis Sailing Club.
Having a bit of lunch before they head off, but as you mentioned, Grant, it definitely looks a little bit lighter than we were thinking, but we still have 24 minutes until the start, so here's hoping it builds.
I don't think it'll build till 2 o'clock. Is my gut feel, but Balancing Act, as you say, that a lot of Port Curtis sailing members on board. It's a J99. It'll enjoy these conditions. Has been raced double-handed. They're racing fully crewed here. Will very much be chasing strong downwind conditions. Their owner, of course, was on board with Starry when they won, so he's had the taste of the victory and will be very passionate about trying to obtain a victory for the team on Balancing Act.
Even though Tony Craner no longer lives in Gladstone, he still supports the Port Curtis Sailing Club and has been around that club for many, many years. They're going for the IRC, the ORCI, AMS and PHS divisions this year on Balancing Act, and we wish them all the best. So, in fact, I believe that they've got around about 40 Brisbane to Gladstones between the team there, with Tim Patrick on board as well. Also, Alan Turnbull, who's been a regular on the Old Girl and is current state impulse champion too. So they've got a couple of the dinghy sailors there.
Hasn't Tony got 25 of those?
Do you know what?
How do you break them up?
I reckon he would. But the Patrick name, very synonymous with this race.
Good sailors.
And a bit of a shout out to the Patrick family back in Gladstone watching this broadcast right now. So there we go. Less than 10 knots on the harbour. Time for it to build. But as the boats will go around the back of the start boat, Mahokey, to register, which they have to do as a part of the sailing instructions. We'll talk about the line in just a little minute. But firstly,
I was just going to say, remember, whilst the wind's a little light, we're starting at the top of the tide, and they'll be swept up north with the tide. So they're going to be travelling pretty well. This is a FAR 1 design, 41 design.
I've sailed on this boat.
Yeah, she's a glamour.
She's beautiful.
You better tell us all about it.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It used to be called Borderline, and it's a FAR 400. They're absolutely Yahoo boat. It's a Yahoo boat. You just have so much fun when you're going downwind, and definitely one that I would want to be involved with. But it was originally delivered in 2013. But it's been fully refurbished over a 6-month period in 2022 after it got to Brizzy with the new owners, and it's great to see Mike Mollison and his crew having a great time on her.
Excellent. Here's my boat, Mayfair. Look, Mark Carter, I'm right behind you, mate. I want this to... Actually, that's now gone, but let's now talk about Celestial. I'll go back to you, Mark. Don't worry about it. Celestial, Sam Haynes, former winner of the Brisbane to Gladstone and also Sydney to Harbour. Gee, we're going through them quickly now. I feel like I've got to be very, very fast. But we've gone from the fast to the more luxurious.
Yeah, that's it. That's
research.
Research in
lovely.
French is research, and I'd like to do a little bit of research on that boat. What an absolutely glorious thing that it is. It's actually a Beneteau Oceanus 45.
And there's Alive, our Nick and my tip for the win here. This thing is so well campaigned.
You can see Adrian waving at the start boat there as they sign in. Silas Nolan up on the bow, as you mentioned earlier, Geordie. It is just a rocking crew. I saw them racing at Hamilton Island Race Week last year, which is when I called they'd win the Hobart. And
what a finish for them in the Hobart.
Unbelievable
What a great
finish. They ripped up the Derwent. I reckon for 7 nautical miles, they were doing 20 knots. Best dream run up the Derwent, that's for sure.
Excellent. Well, it's about time that we spoke about our course this year and to give everybody viewing at home an idea of how far and where these boats will travel to. And each year we like to feature a long-standing supporter of the Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race. And this year we'd like to recognise Robin Elkington. Now, Robin has been sailing with her family for absolute years, and she's been on South Passage for even more. In fact, 34 Brisbane to Gladstone races. Now, I dug this photo up, which I took of Robin when I did the race on South Passage 15 years ago, enjoying a nice little red wine at the little party we had prior to go sailing the next day with Will Schroeder in the background. And I know for a fact Will Schroeder did not feel that well the next day. But there's a photo of Robin and when I did the race on South Passage 15 years ago. So there you go.
That's absolutely glorious. And Grant, given that we knew you might be a little bit mean to Miss Elkington, we have dug up something out of the archives as well. Here's doing this,
seriously,
doing the exact same race 15 years ago on the beautiful South Passage. What absolute style! I think you're even wearing Oakleys there, Grant.
Are they tips?
I was just going to say,
are they tips? Hair? Are they? Thank you, team, for
bring back the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, for digging that up. That's excellent. Of course, that was 15 years ago and 15 kilos less. So excellent. Nice to see. Nick Douglas, you'll pay for that. Thank you very much. Let's check out the course for today's Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race with Robin Elkington.
Hi, I'm Robin Elkington, a veteran of 34 Brisbane to Gladstone races on family yachts and currently navigator of the 60-tonne, 100-foot sail training schooner South Passage. It's my pleasure to walk you through this year's racecourse. The organising authority, as it has been for the past 76 years, is the Queensland Cruising Yacht Club, located in Shorncliffe. At precisely 11 a.m, all yachts will receive the starting gun and set course for the first turning mark off Redcliffe. From here, they will head east across Moreton Bay towards Moreton Island for the M8 beacon before heading north for M9 off Tangalooma. Yachts will then work their way northwest through the shipping channel, keeping an eye on beacons and sandbars. However, there should be decent water under the keel for most all the way this year. With high tide just an hour into the race, it's one of the most favourable tides in years, assisting yachts towards the top of Bribie Island before it turns to a running tide at 6 p.m. Hopefully, we will be around the Caloundra Fairway Beacon and into the open sea by this stage. From here, the navigators really earn their pay. Will they choose to sail inshore, avoiding adverse currents and skirting Double Island Point, or head further offshore, opening up the angles and sailing fast while chasing the favourable wind? With beautiful Fraser Island on the port side, yachts will pass Indian Head and then Breaksea Spit before turning northwesterly, rounding the picturesque Lady Elliot Island and heading across what is affectionately known as the Paddock. With Angus Water on the horizon, yachts will pick up the first channel beacon S2 before snaking through the flashing lights of the shipping channel. This can be particularly tricky at night with the many lights of Boyne, Tannum and Gladstone in the background and shallow bars on either side of the channel. Finally, the end is in sight with the finish, a line of sight off Patsy Lee Place view platform at East Shores to the A7 beacon, and where the Port Curtis Sailing Club finish crew will signal the end of the race for each yacht, but the beginning of the Easter festivities.
The 76th Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race is brought to you by our principal naming rights partner, the Gladstone Ports Corporation, celebrating 110 years of operation. Brisbane City Council via Brisbane Economic Development Agency. The generous support from these race partners. And this live stream event is brought to you by the Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone.
Welcome to Gladstone Entertainment Convention Centre, Central Queensland's premium business and entertainment venue. Our adaptable spaces provide the perfect area for collaboration, celebration, learning and innovation, accommodating up to 1,500 people at once. Stay, play and conference today in the Gladstone region. Book your next event at GECC, Gladstone Entertainment Convention Centre, the heart of Gladstone events. Come and see for yourself.
there's just one place with beautiful beaches, easy access to the Great Barrier Reef, and pristine national parks. Isn't it time you discover the Gladstone region? Go on, visit Agnes Water and the town of 1770.
Welcome back to the Gladstone Ports Corporation Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race, being live streamed to the world through KO Sports and, of course, on the Brisbane to Gladstone website and Facebook page. And we've just been seeing a few little comments on the Facebook page. We had Mutton Flower, who is watching from Malaysia, and a lot of people on there. Make sure you tell us where you're coming from, where you're watching from, and we'd love to know. Amber Louise, no, Starry is not racing this year. She's affectionately retired, but I would never say never. Never say never.
But she's on a mooring right near the Port Curtis Sailing Club, which is absolutely where she should be living. And so if anybody does go to the finish, you can give her a little bit of a salute and say hello.
And g'day to the team at Big Mama Sailing in Townsville and Magnetic Island as well, who have commented on the page.
Very cool.
There we go. There's the start boat Mahokey, and we're getting very close to the Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race start. Less than 15 minutes away, 14 minutes exactly. So we've got another start. Most boats have got all their headsail and mainsails up now, and getting they're starting to get serious now. The serious time is nigh.
Absolutely. And I have to say, just before this shot, I saw the Sydney 38 on board, and I do want to mention this boat because they've got 3 lots of 38s on board. They're a Sydney 38. They're called 38. And Harley Cowlishaw, who is a stalwart of the QCYC here, is doing his 38th Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race, which is just incredible. So bit of a shout out to 38, who's actually just tacking over right there in the frame.
There you go. And g'day to Harley, who's been a member of the QCYC for a gazillion years and also a big part of the Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race, most certainly last year as well. So, look, we're 15 minutes away from the start. Do we want to have a chat about the start? Sure. Because this year, of course, we're going to be sharing the monos. We'll be sharing the line with multi-hulls.
Yeah. So there's a start line, 2 orange marks. So the committee boat is at the right end of the line or the furthest away from the shore. And then the other end, the pin end, what we traditionally call the pin end, is the closest to the shore. About 2/3 of the way down the line, you will find a pink buoy. The pink buoy is the boats, the trimarans, the catamarans, multi-hulls will start at that end, between the pink and the lured orange, and then the monohulls will start at this end between the orange and the pink.
They're calling it a separation buoy, which I find interesting because they're now on the same start line, which is good, but now we've got a separation buoy. So they start in their area, the monohulls start in their area, and you might think that's a bit mean, but it's actually for safety. They do manoeuvre very differently, just so that you know, and that's where it does become difficult with multis and monohulls. But I think it's good for the monohulls because if I was racing today, Jordan, I'd want to be towards that windward end of the start line, especially in this breeze strength.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. Nick is very smart. She's worked it out. So there's a 10-minute gun, which will be advanced signal or advice. Then there'll be a warning signal at 5. Then the preparatory signal will go up, which is an I flag. The I flag is telling the fleet if you are over the line at the start, then you must go around the ends of the line to restart. You can't dip back behind the line. Therefore, what Nick is thinking is that if you're a monohull starting near that pink buoy, you're going to have to cross all the multi-hulls and go a long way to get around the line.
Right round the outside.
Yeah. It's a huge handicap.
Nobody wants to do Buffalo boys or girls, and I think that the boat end of the line as well will give these boats a little bit more breeze when it's a bit lighter condition. But there is the start boat. So if I was this beautiful yacht coming in here, which looks like Tempo with the 44 on the mainsail, they're actually practicing a run now. So you'll see them turn up and practice their run in right at that boat end at that angle. So that's what we're thinking, I think.
Yeah. Looking at that, I think that those spectators on that start boat Mahokey will be getting an amazing picture of all these boats cramming up into that line. That is, has that got more north in it, that breeze?
It looks like more east in it, actually.
Yeah,
like it's starting to swing around to the east. That's possibly because it's been a little bit more warmer a little bit more warm than it was meant to be today. So I think we've actually seen it definitely swing around.
So the pathway they're going to take is sort of the bottom left of your screen as you look. So that tempo there is probably slightly 10 degrees high of the actual course, because those spectator boats are all behind an exclusion mark. So that is what's likely going on there. That is Restless.
Restless.
There she is.
The Cape 35.
The Cape 35, yes. Done some campaigning on that myself. And that's the other PCSC entry in this year's race, with John Eibel on the helm yet again. I know John loves this race, loves his yacht club, and loves Gladstone. He can't wait to get there. So when everybody's watching the Yellow Brick Yacht Tracker and you see Restless, make sure you head down to O'Connor Wharf or down to the yacht club. And I'll tell you that there goes the 10-minute gun, incidentally. But make sure that you get down there and say good day to both Port Curtis Sailing Club boats when they arrive.
10-minute horn.
2-minute horn, yes.
Horn, no guns.
Yes, we need to protect ourselves. So no longer gun.
But Restless,
don't start me.
I'm going to go back to Restless for 1 second. I'm not sure if you saw their outfits before they left the beach today. They're going for best dress. There's some Restless crew actually on Cam 2 on Mahokey. They're supporters that we can see off screen. But they've got these amazing green outfits, and we do have a best dress, which will be happening right now. So another exciting element of the Brisbane to Gladstone. But there's Wild Thing doing her little test of the line to leeward of tempo. There you can see the difference between a 44-footer and a 100-footer if ever we wanted. Restless of now, the Restless crew in the bottom left of your screen, so you can see their stunning outfits.
Goodness me.
Goodness gracious me. I bet you wish you were back on board in those outfits, Grant.
Every year they come up with something a little better every year. So anyway, online now we have a Maya 2. That's Matthew Kingsbury on the helm. Townsville?
Townsville,
yep.
Yeah.
Good on you. Well done. Welcome to the race. And Maya 2 have done quite a few starts, actually. But look, Townsville, she's a competitive club racer with a reputation of taking no prisoners on the start line. Let's see what happens today.
Won this year's Surf to City, I reckon, on IRC. I think.
I'm fairly sure you're right. And she's a beautiful little FAR 11.6. The skipper, Matthew Kingsbury, has crew James Nixon, Mikhail Greaves, Stuart Kennedy, Felicity Nelson, great sailor, Alex Seizure, and Jack Gaggan on board.
She was bought in, Matt bought her out of Early Beach in 2015, and what he said was the long road to recovery, undergoing an absolute major refit soon after purchase, and now she's a great family racer. Here is Restless yet again, the Cape 35, launched in 1993. Good a shout out to Ray Hobbs and his family, who are Port Curtis Sailing Club members, life members, and there's the team there. They'll be heading towards the Harbour City, and they have a great race
They've
every
changed
year.
their outfits. I'm disappointed.
I think they're in race mode.
Race mode.
Yes. Here we go with tempo yet again from the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia.
We'll enjoy strong downwind conditions for this thing. It did get a refurb where they put on a little bit of a larger sail plan and took some weight out of the keel. All of those things make you go faster downhill. So, and she's got a great big bowsprit. We've got a camera on board, so we can actually see what the action's like. You can see the twin wheels there, and she will very much be looking for the wind to freshen. As I said, I don't expect it to kick in for another couple of hours, but it will be slowly building.
Few Rockstar crew on board as well. I ran into Maddie Pearce is on board. Eva's on board, Garth Bickford, young sailmaker out of Doyle, who I happen to sail with quite a lot. So glamour crew, glamour boat. There's Maddie Pearce on the helm right there, actually. They're going to have a great ride.
Yep.
This is Stratacare Racing.
Double-handed.
Double-handed.
Massive boat for double-handed.
Yeah, look at that.
That's not double-handed.
That's not double-handed. Jim O'Hare has found more than 2 people to sail this boat to Gladstone.
They told us they were double-handed. I think they changed their minds when they saw the forecast.
We haven't promoted a fair few of the Royal Queensland Yacht Squadron boats today, but here is a very successful racer, and there is no way they're going double-handed to Gladstone.
Definitely not.
So there's quite a few crew on board. But have a look at the lines of that boat. That is a beautiful, beautiful boat.
A Sydney GTS 43, originally designed by Ian Murray. What a glamour. South Passage.
What a glamour. What a glamour. This is the cruising division, ladies and gentlemen. If you sat there and thought, oh, well, how long is that going to take to get to Gladstone? They have what's called an iron headsail, which they are allowed to start every so often. But in the cruising division, they will make sure that they're in enough time to perhaps get a few rum bunnies going. But it is a fantastic boat, that one. It's a sail training vessel, not a winch on board. In fact, I tell a lie, I think there's an anchor winch.
Nice.
That is it. But if you would like to check out www.southpassage.org.au, great for corporate functions and events like that.
Their rivals, none they can't stop with their cannons.
It is very much like that. It is a beautiful old boat. They've got 3 watches in white watch, red watch, and blue watch, I think, or yellow watch.
Oh.
And they all...
Oh, it's like us.
Oh, there you go. But they all have a wonderful time, and there's a real sense of achievement once you get to Gladstone. So check that out. It'd be fantastic. We are 5 minutes away from the race that stops the nation on Easter Friday, on Good Friday, and that is, of course, the Gladstone Ports Corporation Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race. We've got a fair bit to go between now and then, but I tell you what, there's not a lot of wind pushing that boat around now.
No.
So the iron headsail might get a bit of a kick before we get too much further into this.
Can they use it into the start? That'd be ideal. I'd kick my iron headsail and just get a bit of momentum and
Get
off
it up
we
on
would
the
go.
foils.
Exactly, up on the foils and off we go.
Interesting thing, just to bring in, speaking of getting across the line early, if you take a penalty, you've created a rule infringement. You can do 2 penalty turns up until sunset on the first day, or once you get past Northwest Beacon. Beyond that, then it is you take a penalty as per standard.
I believe we're coming into 4 minutes to go. Just watching that finger on the hooter there on board the start boat. And 5 seconds in preparatory. You can see these.
Look at you old yachty. You've got your phone.
Already. I've got my Ronstein watch ready to go.
There you go. There goes the finger.
Sorry, guys.
So the hooter is sounded, but of course with yachts, the sound signal is only as an assistance. It'll all be done with flags. So make sure that as skippers they look for the flags. But of course it'll actually be on VHF too. I think they're counting down on VHF to give all yachts the most equal chance.
So it's going to be a reaching start. So reaching starts are very difficult to get your timing. So what will happen is that the windward boat must keep clear in the rules. So if you try and start too close to that committee boat, you can be pushed out and above it. They've got no rights to room at a starting mark. Arctic Blonde on screen there. So
love
Nick,
this boat.
Go for it.
Oh, she's a Hick 39. She's out of Southport Yacht Club. Amazing crew. Peter Cook, Jessica Greenwood, Glamour, Chris Keel, Dean Baker, David Hutchison. And she was built in 2006 as a bay racer, but she's been racing hard. She's done every major race that I can think of on the East Coast, bar the Hobart. And I know they'll be really keen to go north.
Excellent. As you can see, the boats are now really milling in the area of the start. It's going to be a very slow start. And from what we were actually thinking about a week ago, this is actually the wind will build. We've been saying that all the way, but right now it's just going to be a very leisurely crossing of the line. But of course, there's a fair bit of stress involved when you've got light conditions in a start like this,
and a reaching start. So the intensity on the start line and the rules will come into play. So for the wind is coming over the right side of all those boats. So anyone to the right of someone has to give way to the person to the left at the moment. So windward keeps clear to leeward boat. That means that when you try and start, that boat's below you can push you up, and they can push you out away from the line. So we will see a lot of strategic placement.
We can actually see on screen now those 2 markers with the separation marker. Right to the right of your screen, you'll see the pin boat and the separation marker, and then heading up to the left of your screen is where the boat end of the line is as we come in under 2 minutes to go.
We're looking for the front, aren't we? Here we're ahead of the start, head of the start line, looking back at the start.
Not looking down the start line, but more at the fleet, which is kind of good in these conditions. You'll see them all turn their bows to the right of your screen, and here's the starting flag. That's the I flag that you mentioned, Geordie.
Correct. I'm just noticing at the top right of the screen there, all the multi-holes sitting down near South Passage. So they're obviously, as you pointed out, Nick, they're at their leeward end of the line, but the multi-holes should, once they get wound up, will start to fly away. Obviously, Wild Oats in this light of wind will start to wind up a little bit as well.
Coming into 1 minute to go. Beautiful views of the fleet of 40 boats here getting ready to start the Gladstone Ports Corporation 76th
There you
edition.
go.
There's 1 minute. Oh, exciting. Bit of finesse required for these starts as well. You don't want to be steering too much. You need to make sure your crew are in the right position and...
Keep going. I was just going to say.
I thought Jordan was getting excited, but here we are looking down the line. But yeah, a lot of finesse required and weight placement. You'll see a lot of these crews moving to the leeward side of their boat, which is the same side as the sails are falling, just to try and generate some power across their sails. Alive in a beautiful position here coming up the line.
Yep, squeezing all those boats as we said they would. So here's the top of the line, that orange mark. So they've got 24 seconds to nail it. Nobody can go and get Alive out the way. So they've locked all those people in. They've got that perfect start lined up. They're going to nail it.
They are going to nail it. They're unfurling their A sail now, and here we come into the start. 10 seconds to go, ladies and gentlemen, until the Gladstone Ports Corporation 76th edition of the Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race is away. It's go time.
There she goes.
Fantastic start by Alive. There is a boat further to windward of her. I think it might be Arctic Blonde, actually, but you can see those beautiful coloured headsails going up. Now, the checkered sail is actually Black Diamond that we've spoken about quite a lot. Celestial also up towards the windward end of the line. 11023 is the sail number of the boat that got the most boat end.
Is Kirschman?
I think it might be Charisma.
Charisma
has nailed that start at the boat end, but you can see Alive are off and racing already. Wild Thing back in the pack.
Yeah, they've Alive have done that beautifully. They just sailed nicely up the line on starboard. All boats had to keep clear, windward boats. And
as David Rose's wedgetail, Rosie's wedgetail, I should say. Beautiful boat as well, but they don't have wind where they are on the line. Lots of dirty air, as Jordan mentioned earlier. They're to leeward of all of the boats that are capturing the wind above them. So bit of a slow start for them. Maritimo also has a checkered spinnaker. They're away. They look really good.
Wow.
So Celestial, Maritimo, and there's Arctic Blonde with the GCCM on her blue spinnaker, doing really well as well, about to get smoked by a 100-footer.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to just give up without a fight here. There's a bit of a push up to windward by Arctic Blonde, but I think they're fighting a losing battle there.
They could.
As the one, they could have gone very hard
they
if
could
they
have gone
wanted
a lot
to.
harder there. I'd be saying thank you if I was Wild Thing right now to Arctic Blonde, but it's now a minute and a half after the start, and that 100-footer is getting across the line, just to give you an indication of how light the conditions are out there. And Alive is off and ripping.
There's our race leader at this stage, Alive, the 66-foot Rock Pew. Of course, this is the old Blackjack. And Duncan Hyne, who is the current champion of the Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race, is looking for the 4 Cities Cup, which will be awarded to the highest placed boat in the Sydney to Hobart and also the Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race. So in the box seat now.
Can I cash my bet now? I did say that they would get line honours and handicap. Can I cash in now?
This is not sports bet. You can't cash out. That's not how it works.
It's looking good. But there's Maritimo, the TP52. You can see just how light it is out there on the course. I mean, Jordan, you and I love racing, but it's incredibly tricky in these conditions. There's those crew in those yellow shirts all the way down the leeward side, as I mentioned, just trying to do everything they can to fill their sails.
This is not like the postcard. I'm wondering, like it is typical tropical conditions where you can get a cloud line move through and you can get a squall and then you get no wind, but we've sort of got more trade-like conditions, but it just hasn't set in yet. So maybe there's a little bit of thermal action counteracting the trade at the moment. But as we said, it was going to start light, but I didn't expect it to be this light, so I'm being sacked as the weatherman.
Wow, there you go. And go Mayfair, that's all I'm saying. Let's go back on board with tempo, and you can see that there's your crew down the leeward side, Nick. Only a very few of the sailors, but the skipper just keeping up on the windward side, trying to put as much weight on the leeward side of the boat to lean that mast over and hopefully fill the sails, but that is an incredible shot.
This is clearly just between a system. We're just between a weather system. This is exactly what you'd get.
I'm not sacking you as the weatherman, Jordan, because nobody predicted this. It's okay.
But it's just a clear, we're sitting right between a little system. It won't be very long that they'll be stuck here. It's just isolated, I reckon. We can see from this shot now, we see some of the catamarans, the multi-hulls, sorry. So Top Gun is just starting to shoot out, and there's the Rapido 50 next, and then, of course,
the final one is Tribalistic, but that's Rush Hour, I believe.
Yeah, Rush Hour.
Will be the last multi to cross the line. Rush Hour is amazing. I could live on that thing.
What a story that boat has. But look at that. So therefore, there's Wild Thing, as Grant said, originally an 80-foot, the boat, and 80-footer. Grant, Warrow, the other Grant, the owner, put a lot of work with a few others in a shed and extended it.
You saw Adrian Seifert's name pop up there. He's a part owner with Grant. But, yeah, there's a pretty rock-star crew on board that boat as well. And some have even been in this commentary booth previously. Mr. Turton.
Yes.
Mr. Torpy, another legend who I know has been sailing his international 1 metres as well, which is great to see. But I do think they'll start to open up their legs now.
Yep. Look, it's just a beautiful sight. There is why this race is known as an iconic race of Queensland, an iconic event. This is Easter, Good Friday in all its colourful glory out on Moreton Bay. And the start of the Gladstone Ports Corporation Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race is looking absolutely beautiful at this stage. And I know probably at the long lunch where they are sitting in Gladstone right now under a huge gazebo, big cover, and eating prawns and drinking white wine, that they'll be looking up at that screen going, oh, isn't that lovely? But they will be in probably early Saturday morning once we get this breeze filling in. So some amazing pictures of being out there on the start line. So we're underway. We're 5.5 minutes into the race, and all of those boats. It's amazing how many of the smaller boats are still mixing it with the bigger boats.
Oh, indeed, especially in light air, because they're lighter. They're able to keep up with the big guns. And a lot of them did get a really good start and took less risk, and they were able to hold their position a little bit more accurately on the start line as well. The big boats, as Jordan mentioned, leading into the start, it's really hard to get your time and distance correct when you're reaching. So the big boats had to be more cautious, because if they were over and had to go around the ends, it's just too much of a penalty. But you can see that 100-footer Wild Thing on your screen there. They are starting to get some momentum, and they will continue to move forward. But you can see how wide that hull is as well. So it gets a little bit sticky. There's a lot of wetted surface area there to create drag. So that's why they try to heel the boat over as much as possible, as well as to fill those sails with gravity.
Now, are we looking at a canting keel here? So most of that heel would be generated by the canting keel, do you believe?
Yeah, they definitely would be trying to create a little bit of heel with that keel.
Obviously, Alive is already further up, further north already, so it's still out in front. But Wild Thing is starting to crank up. So
I'm sorry, I just saw Turton on the bow.
Yeah.
Gee, it is light.
Yeah.
We've got to get the weight out of the stern.
He literally was right on the bow. If we go back to that shot of Wild Thing, I need a picture of Turton on the bow.
Yeah, he never goes past the mast, ladies and gentlemen. But there you go.
You can clearly see a line of breeze just to the right. So those boats that are up on the right edge, you can see Black Diamond is right there trying to squeeze along the edge of it, whereas everyone else has got their kite starting to collapse. We can see our friends on Cooper's there as well with the collapse kite. That breeze is just there, just to the right. The multi-hulls are not benefiting at this stage, so they're going slow. And there's one boat's just taking its tails down in protest. That looks like the little Far 400.
Yeah, that's the
Velocity.
Velocita. And there's Cooper's.
Yeah.
Everyone loves a bit of Cooper's.
Indeed.
That's a new spinnaker on board Cooper's. That looks absolutely glorious.
It absolutely is a new spinnaker on board. So that's a Geno 53. Bit of a cruising boat setup, but a lovely boat to be on. Tend to race in the cruising divisions. Loves going and doing all the regattas up and down the east coast. Certainly one of the more pretty boats, I think. That is a very pretty kite. Technology's come a long way.
Yeah, used to have that green one with the big white Coopers through
Oh, here we
and
go.
the Mystic Moody, sorry, we just missed it, but the Mystic was on screen. Hopefully we find them again, but I believe that this boat is Speedsig.
That's correct.
And Speedsig, Mystic is gone now, but we've got Speedsig on screen, and it's a scary cruiser. It's a 30 square metre.
Yep.
Now, we've got a two-handed entry here. It's last year's first on IRC and last year's second on IRC have actually paired together. They've both jumped off their Seabirds and jumped onto that boat to see how they can go as two-handed, which I love.
Original design out of 1904.
So beautiful. And the sail number gives that away too. When you've got a KA number, it's pretty telling, KA2. Oh, we need to find you Moody again. Jordan's favourite boat is the Moody. Your favourite boat is Mayfair.
Yes.
You know, it's all on. Fruit Salad, another beautiful boat on the screen. A Beneteau First 40, usually a boat that would go incredibly well on IRC.
Did you pronounce it right, Nick?
I'm not sure.
Fruit Salad.
Oh, Fruit Salad.
Yes.
Am I meant to say it like that?
Yes. There's a whole story.
I need the story. Give me the story.
Well, the original boat, it was Fruit Salad, but they entered their first race after a big night and spelt it wrong, and they've kept... and 3 yachts later, they still call it. So Salad
Fruit Salad, I love it. That's tempo on screen. Once again, it is absolutely glorious, that boat.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here almost dumbfounded. We've been watching the forecast for the last 2 weeks.
It's amazing.
And going, it's going to be a fast race. It's going to be a fast race. And then we're looking at this. But there's Solace and from Royal Queensland to 44.7 Beneteau First. And launched in 205, as you can see. But Paul Pincus is hoping for a little bit more breeze to push that baby up to Gladstone as well.
Spent a lot of time in the Caribbean, that thing.
Yeah.
Sail back. But yeah, very comfy boat. They won't be as stripped out on down below as some others, but yeah.
They might be able to have a nap though, Jordan. I believe that is Black Diamond. They've changed to their yellow and white kite. I'm guessing because I can't actually see their hull, but I think they've got a white and yellow kite as well in their arsenal. And they're down to leeward of the fleet.
Starting to move.
Starting to get going.
Actually, I think they've got a bit of off-water wind there too, because looking at those ones up the top, there's a couple of bits of puffs, wind on the water. And for those non-sailors, any
indigo?
dark places
I don't think it's Black Diamond.
I think that's indigo too.
Yeah,
the Martin 49, actually. Yeah, he agrees. It's hard to tell, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but that is 211, indigo 2. Yep.
There you go.
Correct. Beautiful boat, that Martin.
Okay. I've just gone to the Bureau of Meteorology. So we had 13 to 21, 13 knots to 21 knot gusts on the inner beacon. And then half an hour later, we're down to 3 knots. It was 6 knot gusts. And now it's up to 6 with 12 knot gusts being seen. So there's something, a cell just descended on the start line. That's basically what's happened.
There's a rock star crew on board that Martin, Indigo too. Darren Purdy, Stacey Jackson, Martin McKeanry, Peter MacArthur, Nick Hollingworth, Ian Marsden, Nigel Stubby, Jonathan Gravitt, Gary Van Luteren, the Big Gaz, Lucas Down, Samuel Edwards. That boat's going to go incredibly well.
Terrific stuff. There we are, 11 and a half minutes after the start, after a very slow start to the Gladstone Ports Corporation Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race, the 76th edition. We'll be back in just a moment with more of this great race.
The 76th Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race is brought to you by our principal naming rights partner, the Gladstone Ports Corporation, celebrating 110 years of operation. Adina Watches, official timekeeper of the B2G. The generous support from these race partners. And this live stream event is brought to you by the Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone.
What's that they told you? Keep your head down. No, just stick with the crowd. Or something unexpected might happen. And you can't have that now, can you?
You are watching the Gladstone Ports Corporation Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race 2024, brought to you by the Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone, where it has started in the Harbour City, and they are having a great time right now. Having a great time on the beautiful Moreton Bay is Tempo Racing, and that is a lot more relaxed than what we expected to see them earlier on today.
Yeah, this is down about 10, 15 notches on what I was expecting in terms of breeze strength. But active again, well, perhaps not. It's very hard to pick from this distance. But the 40 yachts are all starting to move. As Jordan mentioned earlier, you can see the pressure on the water. If you can see the darker patches, that is wind, and that's what we're looking for. The blue spinnaker of GCCM Arctic Blonde, most left of screen. They've got a little bit of pressure building now, but it's very cloud affected, I think, out there.
Yep. For the people who know this peninsula, what they're doing is they're sailing up to a turning mark off Redcliffe, almost up to Scarborough. So the northern end of that Redcliffe little isthmus, I guess is the correct term, and then they'll turn and head out to Moreton Island. So they're going to head across to Cowan Point, and then they'll go straight down the Spitfire Channel. The channel is the main shipping channel into the Brisbane port, so they do have to give way to ships. You can see that they're not really charging along, but maybe it's a hangover from the Pittwater to Coffs.
Maybe.
They brought the bad wind with them.
The Pittwater to Coffs, for those who don't know, happened last weekend, and only 4 of the fleet actually finished. It was that slow of a race. But I do believe that we will have a build in conditions very, very soon. 888 on the sail. See if we can pick up who that is. Beautiful looking boat though. Great setup.
Finding it difficult to pick that boat up. It's Yendes.
Yendes, the RP55.
Ah, of course.
Gotta love a bit of RP action. And this Yendes, I think you know seriously well, Jordan. Have you sailed on her?
No, I haven't sailed on her, but it was ex-Sydney Hobart win. I think it's launched about nearly 20 years ago now. A Reichel Pure design, which alives a Reichel Pure design. The Black Diamond. There's a lot of course, a lot of Reichel Pures in the fleet, and they go very, very well in these sort of conditions. They'll do well. They do very well in Windward Lords, and Yendes rates extremely well, so could go quite nicely.
We have on screen Celestial to the right, and Wild Thing 100 is opening up in front of her. I would say that Alive is probably just to the left of our screen now on line honours, so you can see even the best of the best are struggling in these tough and light conditions.
Yep. I don't think we're going to look at a fastest time this year.
No.
In fact, Blackjack 100, Peter Harburg, as we mentioned earlier on, had the race record in 2022 of 16 hours, 13 minutes and 56 seconds. We're going to be very lucky to have that time coming out of the harbour, coming out of the bay. But that's an average speed. Just to give you a bit of understanding, that's an average speed of 18, nearly 19 knots, 18.97 knots.
Wow.
Average over the 308 nautical miles. That is absolutely smoking, and this year it ain't gonna happen.
Luckily, the tide is going with them for the foreseeable future.
Yes, high tide at midday, and of course a run out tide from there. It's going to help them considerably. The last thing you want is these boats battling a tide, an incoming tide as well. So from here, the boats will around the Redcliffe marker, and then they'll head due east to Moreton Island around the M8 beacon and head towards Tangalooma before they start snaking through the shipping channel. So there's a bit to go there. We've got
that might be one of our multi-hulls.
That's a multi there.
Right underneath us. Fantastic action. It looks like...
Well,
that's awesome. What a beautiful looking yacht.
Very, very difficult to pick up the
I think
there.
that's rush hour.
Yeah. Probably the last of our multis. The multis should fly in this, really. They'll start to get their legs. I can see a bow wave just to the right of screen as well. So that's probably one of the probably the trimaran starting to pick up.
It looks like a great day to go for a surf too.
Should we go? I was thinking a skirt.
Let's have a look at the yacht tracker. This will give us a greater indication of where boats are. And as you can see, out in front there is alive and moving quite well. And listen, wanting to cash their chips in, no, you two can't until
No, not cashing in yet,
No.
but look at them go.
And there's your Wild Thing 100 in second place. And a little bit more right into her wake is Celestial, and then one more down to Windward there.
Yeah,
that's
down
to Leeward.
Indigo
is
too,
Indigo.
that Martin.
And there's Maritima 52, just a little bit more to Windward.
We should see Jaybird near there as well, starting to come through.
There's Top Gun.
Yep. Yeah.
Perfect.
Lovely.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. I think it's actually a good time to get a nap in, though, before this breeze increases. That's something certain in my mind.
One of the great things of the Brisbane to Gladstone is, especially with the tide where it is, they're going to go quite close to the shore. It is Easter, Queensland. It is very busy. When they go up Kagari, they're going to see there's more. The traffic, you get right up close to the full drive, zooming up and down Kagari and doing the run up to Double Island Point and all that. It is, you can almost have conversations to some of the campers there. It's quite amazing.
Yes.
That beautiful Martin 49 on the screen. They're doing incredibly well and leading their division at the moment, but it's a long race to go. 308 nautical miles is the Brisbane to Gladstone.
They've got a retractable keel, so they can put it right onto the shore.
Wow.
Yeah, I've sailed one of those, tried to deliver one to New Zealand once, and that actually has a big hydraulic retractable keel, so they can take it in. They've probably got it wedged up. Not that they're legally allowed to do that, but, but beautiful luxury, several $1 million when they were first built, those things.
I hope it has a coffee machine. That's what I'd be feeling like right now.
That's it's actually sitting quite well, and it's got a little bit of speed on it. They're doing very well. Did you say they were leading their division?
They're leading their division.
Yeah.
There's something. I think they're fifth online honours. Jaybird on the screen. Ocean Crusaders.
So they spent $30,000 buying that boat. They spent about $300,000 doing all the work themselves, buying the equipment, and they've made that, which is a TP52. So they've lengthened the deck and brought it right back to make it a racer cruiser. There's no engine in it anymore. Runs full battery power. And if you do go in right under that cabin rooftop, there's a perspex flooring where you can actually see the battery system, and they're just. The work they do to clean up the ocean, that Ocean Crusader team. So, Tomo and Annika, just got a lot of respect for them as a pair.
So special. Yeah, special couple, special message, and it's a special boat as well, that's for sure. And it's called Jaybird. That was actually the original name of the hull. So when they found it, they restored it. The original name was Jaybird, and given Annika is Swedish, she's very superstitious, so took it back to that original name.
Yeah, looking at the speed of the leading boats at the moment, Wild Thing just doing around about 5.2 knots.
Wow.
So it just goes to show you they're a long way from anywhere near their speeds. And as you can see, and as you mentioned earlier on, Nick, they're up to the top of the screen. There is a little bit of wind filling in from the east, and I'm pretty sure that's going to need. That's looking like it's filling in right through the harbour now. So we're on our way.
One of our double-handed entries on the screen, and you can see that breeze over the top of the fleet here.
The red kite's not yacht share ignition. The next one. The next one along.
The next one up to windward.
Make sure. And they're dropping a kite. There's only two of them.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
They're going bareheaded. Oi. This one to leeward looks like it's out of RQ 307.
Yeah, but so that's so wedge tail, which is David Rose's boat. But the double-handed boat up above is that boat specifically has been designed. It's a 3300. I think it's a Geno 3300, specifically designed for the double-hand racing. It's a French design. It is a big part of the scene. If you look just to the top left of the screen, you'll start to see a little bit of pressure in that spinnaker just moving out of our camera now. They're just starting to get a little bit of pressure build as we go. You can actually see that moving through. But yeah, that double-handed the double-handed thing.
Yeah,
I'm a massive fan.
Oh, me too.
Massive fan. I think it's bringing more people back into sailing. It's reduced costs. Small boats are competitive. It's great.
I could get into double-handed racing, I think, or I prefer to call it double-handed offshore. But yeah, that boat, Anton Prange and Kevin, they've been using the boat for the last 18 months, and they thought that this would be a great challenge. That's your boat, Jordan.
I think, I think Is that Genesis?
I think that's Genesis two-handed.
I think that is the Hansi 415. Still a very nicely set up boat. I'm pretty certain that is. Yep, there we go. So we got confirmation. So that's still got warm showers on board and the whole thing. So that was definitely on the potential purchase price for my future retirement.
You're
cruising.
making a big list. Oh, hello. Looking good.
That's alive, isn't it?
That is alive.
Now,
look how narrow
according to the
she is.
yacht tracker, Alive is actually now behind Blackjack 100. Now,
Really?
No, Blackjack, that'll be the record.
Oh, is it Wild Thing 100 is the record? Yes. Okay, righto. There you
we go.
Thank
But
you.
look
So
at that.
if that is confusing you on the
on the tracker as well, but that is alive, looking beautiful, and you can see the difference in the hull shapes. We saw Wild Thing earlier, so wide compared to this Reichel Pugh design, and that's why they go so fast downwind.
Well, yeah, so the wider ones like the broad reaching, close reach, sort of tight reaching, close reaching, when it goes up the bum a little bit more, am I allowed to say that?
Yes.
From directly behind, those narrow hulls will come into play. So this is why I think Alive is going to look really hard to beat on rating, because I expect it to come back to the south a little bit later on. Once it comes in, kicks in from the southeast, and once they get around the top of Fraser, more directly behind. This is the Rapido 50.
I thought they might be pushing for line honours at this point, given the forecast as well. They do have a little bit of speed under their belt.
I will say that those things are very nice. They're very luxurious. They're full carbon structure. So they're quite light for a cruising boat. And once they get up and go, those things boogie, and they've got seafoils on them. So you can set them up how you want. And he's clearly set that up with seafoils. So once it does get going, that thing's going to start lifting out of the water and go really, really quick. So here comes Wild Thing coming in. And you can see the 42 there just sitting at the top of screen. So staying right close. And that would be, I'm assuming, Celestial and the White Kite right behind. So not getting away from a 52 and a 42 at the moment, the 100. So sticky. Wide boats are sticky in light winds.
Yeah.
Fat bottom girls.
I think you're going to have to... there we go. It's updated. No, I did have... there was something wrong with the tracker, and Alive was behind Wild Thing 100. We were sitting there looking, when did that happen? When did the overtake get...
They don't update too regularly until they get into a pattern. Fruit salad. I now know how to say it.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, so it looks like another Beneteau First 40. Nice, good campaigning, club racing sort of boat to buy those. Very pretty down below, so they'll be very happy there. Good friends, having a great time sailing that boat is the best way to describe it. And that's one of the great joys for me of sailing. You know, you can be fully competitive, or you know what, you can just enjoy it with your mates, you know, and you get it to go on the field with those. Look at that thing, hey?
That's a weapon.
It is seriously fast too when it gets going.
Yeah.
I'm standing by, but yeah, out of a series of different yacht clubs. It's got Southport Yacht Club on the back, but I think it's also out of Manly, Wynnum as well. So
been around for a while.
It has been around for a while. I've seen it absolutely ripping around in the southeasterly up at Hamilton Island as well. It does get up and boogie.
That's
Charisma.
Charisma on screen.
Kara 11.3.
Yep, most certainly. And she's competing in the PHS, IRC and ORCI. We might talk about those
I think we
handicap
should.
divisions.
We should indeed. I think this boat actually won under former owner David Rose in 17 and 19 on PHS. And I think a bit of a shout out. I learned this when I went to Gladstone last year. I didn't know that there was such an amazing prize donated by the Holm family for the winning of PHS. So it's $10,000 for first place on PHS, $2,000 for second, and the Kieran family actually donate third, which is $1,000. But that's amazing to encourage everyone throughout the fleet to get involved, and that PHS prize is quite hefty, but this boat won it in 17 and 19, which is fantastic.
Actually, Charisma actually competed in 3 Rolex Middle Sea races too.
Really?
In its time, 3 Sydney to Gold Coast races, 3 B2Gs with David Rose winning, as you mentioned, in 2017 and 2019, and 2 B2Gs with Chris Larson. So there you go. And there is Mystic. It's
Jordan, they've found it for you. That hard-working cameraman has found the boat of Jordan's dreams.
So this is very much, it's a Moody. a lot of the people on board actually have the surname Moody.
Which is ideal.
It's a very famous, very luxury boat design. This is set up to look like a typical American cruising sort of boat. Down below, it's rich mahogany. Looks.
Listen to this.
It truly is.
And do you have to wear slippers and have a smoking pipe?
It is exactly like that. Beautiful leather couches, the whole thing. She's a full glamour boat, and she's on the shopping list.
She's on the shopping list. But as you mentioned, John Jugs Moody on board, and a relative. I'm not sure what the relation is, but Tyler Moody is doing their first. So the two Moodies on the Moody, which I really love.
I think.
And there's Hutchie's, yeah, baby. Andy Lamont and his crew will be having a great time. They definitely love their racing, and they also love their festivities at the other end, which is fantastic to see. Another part of yacht racing that we all know and love.
The interesting thing, I think, is we really need to put this boat, which is 50, it's a Wellborn 50, next to, because they basically took the deck and put a new hull underneath. And then we put J-Bird, which is a 52, where they basically kept the hull and put a new deck on. We should put them together and see if they're interchangeable.
Okay, let's get another look at our yacht tracker if we can, just to see where these boats are.
There was some bar karate going on here, by the way.
Yes, I know. I'm trying to bring some seriousness back to this commentary team.
Alive is charging.
Yeah, there she is out in front. And it is a... They've just got that boat humming at the moment too. Wild thing. I think it's this is going to be very interesting. Once they get off the breeze, they get a bit of breeze. This start for Alive, do you reckon they'll get pinned back by Wild Thing 100? Is it?
I think that there's going to be a lot of restart. Like there'll be a restart essentially when the line of breeze comes in. So they'll start to go again. But once Alive gets her legs, I mean. She's in control at the moment as well, so I wouldn't be letting that 100 past me for love or money, basically.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting how that and when that actually happens. As we've seen from a couple of the drone shots that we have out here, it doesn't look like it's filling in anytime soon.
No.
It's becoming even more and more patchy out there. For a moment there, I thought it was starting to fill in. But there you go. Keep an eye on that yacht tracker, the YB yacht tracker, and you can get a good understanding of where the boats are sitting overall. Who have we got here?
Oh, that might be your boat.
Is this Mayfair?
I believe that's your boat.
There it is.
Grant.
There she is. There she is. Now, look, you know, when I did say this, I was taking Geordie's weather forecast into play.
Do you want to cash in as well?
I might have to. But look, this is a beautiful boat. This is campaigned incredibly well. Just recently, they've Mark Carter and James Irvine, the current owner, have been campaigning this boat incredibly well. And she's been built in 2006, originally owned and raced in the UK and Europe, and then was purchased and shipped to Australia by previous owner and sailed in the Central Coast New South Wales region under the name Shakti. But look, I think she's a beautiful boat. It's a classic, beautiful-looking boat. I just look at it.
Likes a lot of breeze.
It doesn't like any of this. No, because there you can see
downwind
where they should be going and how fast.
I remember doing the Brisbane to Gladstone one year, and because we're so confident in the weather and certain that it's going to come through, that you book, your flight times. If you get light wind, some people get caught out on their return flights, leaving beautiful Gladstone. So,
Pac-Man on screen, a beautiful young 11.
Yes.
And one of our other double-hander entries.
Yeah.
And another Elkington, incidentally.
Oh, wow.
And on the steering of that boat. For a moment there, this morning, there was even talk that she may not even make the start line. But here she is. I don't know, there was a bit of hearsay. Pac-Man, one of the double-handers. And here's a boat that's been campaigned many, many times in the Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race. And that is Blizzard, with Nev Watts on the helm.
Yep.
You couldn't go past a far, 10, 15 years ago, far 44. That was just the standard, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, this one, the 44, as you mentioned, it was built in New Zealand and it was sailed over to watch the Barcelona Olympics originally. So bit of heritage there. GCCM Arctic Blonde got the start of all starts, sort of. to leeward of Wild Thing 100. That'll be something you'd remember, I think, though. Remember that time we almost luffed a 100-footer?
yeah, almost.
Almost. It is important. We're just sitting there looking at Indigo 2, which is the Martin 49 that's well placed at the moment, probably fourth on the line honours currently. I do just want to mention that we did, for those who are fans of Just Simon Cruikshank's double-handed vessel, that one did have to pull out because he is a doctor and I got emergency call in to go and save someone's life, I think. So
What a legend to actually go and assist.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. We heard that from the Commodore, so a bit sad, but worse if he couldn't have gone and helped. So good that he got called in before the start.
The joys of being in the medical field.
Oh, I'm just loving this shot. Look at the shadow of the drone across the spinnaker. Absolutely glorious. It is a beautiful boat.
Now, all these boats are trying to win the Courier Cup, which is one of the longest perpetual trophies in sailing history in Australia. Well, it is in Australia, I believe. So, but the IRC is just one of the handicaps. This is all a little bit difficult to understand, and if you had to have an opportunity to explain to the average punter who will be watching this, what are the different handicaps and how do they sort of fit in? Could you give us a cook's tour?
I can give you cliff notes, I guess. We can give it a crack. So IRC, International Rating Certificate, the yachts get measured to within specific parameters, weighed, they have balance tests as well, and that all goes into an algorithm and spits out a number. And essentially you use that number, you multiply it by the finish time, and you end up with what's called a corrected time. This is how it works for most handicaps, but for IRC, it's International Rating Certificate. Then we have the PHS or PHRF, which is a performance rating handicap. That's based more on the way that the yacht works, the yacht's speed relative. It's more back calculated, I believe. So it actually goes back through the race and works out how that yacht has performed relative to how it should perform using a different kind of algorithm.
And the PHRF is more designed around the, say, the older boats.
Yes.
Is that correct?
And so I think that's why it's a really nice leveller, and I love that the Holm family have donated that first and second and the Kieran the third place because, that's Maritimo with the checkered. Sorry, Jordan just had a moment. But the PHRF prize actually really brings those older boats into the fleet and makes them feel like a part of it because you don't have a yacht race without a fleet, and it's really important to remember those boats as well. Yes, Maritimo and Black Diamond both have checkered
the black checker
kites, which is
wrong
quite confusing, but look how beautiful that Maritimo boat is looking.
She's starting to cook.
Yeah, Celestial just off to their left, up ahead to Wild Thing, and then Alive yachting in the distance. This is a beautiful shot of line honours at the moment, bearing in mind that the Martin 49 is probably in line with Maritimo, but further to leeward.
Okay.
Clearly.
Sorry, mate. I'm just go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can see Redcliffe just coming in a shot there, so they're getting up closer to that turning mark.
Okay, we've just got three more handicaps to very briefly talk about. ORC, or Offshore Racing Congress.
Very similar to IRC. It is another certificate, lots of measuring, but it's more intense than IRC. So they actually measure a lot more things. There's a lot more restrictions on sail plans. For instance, you can't compete under ORC if you're triple heading. Which is using 3 headsails. So it actually tries to be more specific than IRC to try and equalise the boats, and there's been a lot of success with ORC globally.
Okay, and we're talking about the cruising division. We're in the South Passage. We talked about the iron headsail earlier on, allows them to use their engines during the race. And the engine time has to be basically logged and taken into account when calculating the results.
Another way of being really inclusive, I think, you know, in encouraging people to take part, because what a great way to spend Easter if you're a local at either QCYC or Port Curtis Yacht Club in particular at either end than to spend it cruising with your family and then have a great time in Gladstone.
Absolutely.
Sounds good to me.
The last one we'll discuss is the AMS, which is a very recent addition to handicapping, being used only a few times now. AMS standing for the Australian Measurement System.
AMS is, I would say, quite isolated really to Victoria, or has been, and it's starting to move into, it hasn't really taken hold in New South Wales, but it has started moving into South Australia and Queensland, and it's sort of working with vintage yachts and bringing them back into it as well, and I think that's why it's really come out of Victoria, because they have a very large Twilight and cruising division, and a lot of races that race around the bay out of Mornington Peninsula, etc. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you did very, very well, Nick. Congratulations on that.
Very well.
Tick, tick, tick.
It sounds like every player wins a prize, but it's not necessarily so. But
I think it's every player gets to choose, as Jordan mentioned earlier, how they want to race their yacht, how serious they want to be, and where they want to go with it. And that's why we love our sport.
Terrific stuff. Jordan, just before we go to break?
I was just going to say, clearly we do it because keelboats are not all identical. We have a lot of sailing where we race one design boats, but because they're all different, we've got to work out a way of rating boats to see who's sailing the best.
Terrific stuff. You're watching the Gladstone Ports Corporation Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race, the 76th, brought to you by the Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone.
The 76th Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race is brought to you by our principal naming rights partner, the Gladstone Ports Corporation, celebrating 110 years of operation. Quality marine clothing, keeping the marine industry looking good. The generous support from these race partners. And this live stream event is brought to you by the Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone.
It's been 110 years since the Gladstone Harbour Board convened for its first meeting. From these humble beginnings to where we stand today, the Gladstone Ports Corporation has had an incredible journey. Grateful to every member of the team, past and present, whose contributions have shaped the port's success. Gladstone Ports Corporation. Growth. Prosperity. Community.
As you look over the beautiful Moreton Bay and heading towards the first turning mark of the Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race, brought to you by the Gladstone Ports Corporation. This is 40 minutes after the start, and yes, not the winds that we were expecting to get at the start today, but certainly makes for an absolutely beautiful picture on Moreton Bay in Brisbane.
One thing we haven't thought about, not only is the wind light, but it's actually gone further east than we expected. Like, it's setting up in the east currently. That means once they come off that mark at Redcliffe to go out to Moreton Island, they're going to be tacking upwind. So, no one would have planned to do a tack in the Brisbane to Gladstone, and so now they're going to have to work out how to do that. Some of them probably didn't even rig a starboard sheet on their jib because they weren't planning on it. So, yeah, that's going to play into the hands of the narrow boats. So that's going to play into Alive, it's going to play into Celestial and the TPs. So it's going to be harder on Wild Thing.
Yep. Totally. That beautiful Sunfast 3300 on the screen. And while they are, a big shout out to people watching from Bargara, Queensland, Christchurch, New Zealand, and Canada. Excellent to see that everybody's watching from all the way around the world. Canada.
Also see Tony is up in Pancake Creek at the moment watching it on his phone. Good on you, Tony, from the Port Curtis Sailing Club. Thanks for sending that through too.
I will not confirm or deny that someone on board Wild Thing is currently watching the broadcast.
Yes. Well, you can, gentlemen, but we're not going to show you where the wind's coming from. That's for certain. But you can actually see quite dark patches on the water there. But let's go down to the water right now where we have skipper of Black Diamond. It's Glenn Burrell. And Glenn, we see that you've got a very light start today in the race. Very different to what we thought was going to happen.
This wasn't in the forecast, that's for sure. We've just hit our top speed of 4.7 just as this interview started. So we're reasonably happy with our start, but it's just been fluky ever since. So we're hitting our top speed now, 6 knots over the ground. So we've got a bit of pressure in, and going to make the crew a bit happier.
Yeah, things are looking up at least, and hopefully when we hang up, you'll just continue to gain speed, Glenn. But, I mean, you mentioned that this isn't what we were expecting. Do you think it will build? Can you see pressure coming? No.
Not at the moment, no. But, if our average speed is going to be 15 knots, the back half's going to be very quick.
Yeah, copy. Well, we do know that your RP42 does like a little bit of reaching and a little bit of running. Hopefully we see more breeze down the line. How are the crew feeling on board? You mentioned they'd like a little bit more breeze, but everyone's happy?
No, not happy really. We're just trying to find breeze. This is the first time they've actually got off the leeward side. So now they're in the sun. But a few boats ahead of us that shouldn't be, and there's a few boats behind us.
Perhaps you could tell us about that, Glenn. Obviously, you said you were quite happy with your start, and it's been a bit fluky from that. Where would you have liked to be in comparison to those couple of other 40s that are around you?
Well, I'd like to be in front of Rosie on Wedgetail, but he's got through the leeward of it. Charisma's got off to a flyer, for sure. The Mayfair roll was not long after the start, and baby's come through on the leeward. But as I say, we're moving along now. We're doing 6.5 over the ground. So maybe you guys brought the wind along with you.
All right, Glenn.
Fingers crossed.
Let's what do you want? What's perfect conditions? What do we need to deliver? If we're delivering this now, what do we actually need to bring for you, mate? Perfect conditions.
20 knots downwind, Jordan. Hurry up about it.
20 knots from 145.
And yes, that is me, by the way.
I knew your voice, Lee. As soon as I heard it, mate, I recognised you.
Terrific. Guys, we wish you all the best, and hopefully those conditions will start filling in a little bit later on. And Jordan has given us this amazing forecast today. At around about 10 o'clock this morning, he was very certain about everything. Nothing has gone to plan for Jordan today from that forecast, but he does believe we're in between systems, so the other system should be on its way soon.
Cells.
Coming up.
Very good, Glenn. Thanks for joining us this morning, and best of luck, Glenn, and appreciate your time.
All right, thanks, guys. See ya.
Terrific
Go get
stuff.
Rosie.
Yes, Glenn Burrell there, the skipper on board Black Diamond, and we appreciate him for his time today.
And speaking of Wedgetail, there it is on the screen. He mentioned that Wedgetail's just overtaken him to leeward. Arch rivals, all those boats he mentioned, by the way, are out of Southport Yacht Club. And there's this amazing fleet of 40-something foot boats that race out of there, and Rosie's one of them. Charisma that we saw get the absolute gun boat start. And GCCM Arctic Blonde will be another in that bunch as well. Yeah, I believe they all have a bit of a drink bet on the race. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it's 10 jugs of rum actually. Ouch. Okay, a man that is certainly not. He wouldn't say no to at least one of those jugs of rum is the Mayor of Gladstone, and that is, of course, Matthew Burnett, who is an avid yachty himself. He sailed it last year, but not this year. We've got him on board the start boat where caviar and champagne runs freely. Mayor, good afternoon, and a beautiful start to this classic yacht race.
Absolutely fantastic to be here on the start boat for the Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race. Hello to everyone in Gladstone watching at the GCC food court, at the long lunch, you lucky buggers. And also, of course, we got it live streamed this year on the big screen at the East Shores Parklands as well. There'll be hundreds, maybe thousands of people down there watching it. How good is it?
I'm sure there will be. I don't know if we're going to be able to get them there to tomorrow morning early when we're expecting the first ones, but perhaps at this speed, it might be at a bit more reasonable time. We're looking probably...
Would it be nice to get a sleep in?
Yeah, I think you might. Now, you've just, very quickly, you've just got a brand new council in with the recent council elections. Have you clued them all up about the handing over of the traditional carton of beer started by, was it Cole Brown many years ago?
Yeah, I believe Cole, and then followed through with Peter Coronis, and now we're continuing that tradition. So a carton of beer, and 2 for the bigger boats and a medallion as well for everyone when they cross the finish line. And yes, I have queued up the 5 new counsellors. They're on the roster and they'll be supporting the welcoming of the yachts as well.
Terrific stuff. Man, you've sailed this race. Last year was a bit of a bumpy one for you. And this year, you're looking at these conditions. Is there a little bit of green-eye jealousy there or what?
Absolutely. I could trade last year for this year. Absolutely would. It was, look, I very, very much want to be out on the water this afternoon with everyone, but it's great to be here, as I said, on the start boat. Our job is to welcome everyone when they get into Gladstone with that beer and medallion, but I will definitely do this race again, but it might be in a few years' time.
I'm really disappointed that you don't have your parrot mascot with you, Matt, out on the start boat from last year. But I remember you telling me when you were on shore earlier that the hardest spot to fill with one of your counsellors is on Saturday night, aka Sunday morning, Easter Sunday, and your counsellor just jumped on it, which is awesome.
She did. Melissa Holzheimer, thank you very much. So midnight to 6 a.m. on Easter Sunday morning, or late Saturday night into Sunday morning, is always the hardest spot to fill. And she's being very accommodating already. But I've got Simon McClintock, Leanne Patrick, Karen Davis, Michelle Wagner, also Glenn Churchill, and, of course, Natalia and Kana are there as well if they're needed. But I think we'll have all the yachts in by lunchtime. What do we reckon? Lunchtime Sunday? We'll be able to wrap it up and have a line crossing party?
Great stuff, Mayor. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll let you get back to the VIP things that you've got there. You might as well spin us around. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, life's tough, isn't it? Yeah, to be a VIP, hey? Mayor, thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you back up in Gladstone in the next few days and welcoming the boats into town. Thanks very much for your time this morning. There we are, looking at a couple of the boats. That wind is starting to fill in now. You can see a little bit more of a heel on those boats. We will go to a quick break and then we'll be back with the last section of the Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race. Of course, the Gladstone Ports Corporation Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race, who just signed another 5-year deal for naming rights sponsors. So we thank them very much, ensuring this race will continue into the future. And of course, brought to you by Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone.
The 76th Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race is brought to you by our principal naming rights partner, the Gladstone Ports Corporation, celebrating 110 years of operation. Brisbane City Council via Brisbane Economic Development Agency. The generous support from these race partners. And this live stream event is brought to you by the Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone.
Thank you for joining us on Good Friday as we overlook the beautiful Moreton Bay in the wonderful city of Brisbane. And you are looking at the Brisbane to Gladstone Yacht Race for the 76th start. And having a bit of a look at Facebook, guys, I just picked up a very quick comment from Josh Torpey, son of the big rig himself. And he was replying to a comment that from Peter Shearwood, I'm worried about Turts. Is he clipped on up there? And Josh Torpey has replied, I've only seen it once and it was in a storm bay alongside 17 others.
I've also had a message saying he's up there looking for Wi-Fi reception. So I think Turts is definitely earned his stripes.
For the people watching in Gladstone, there she is, a bit of a hometown hero now, restless, Johnny Eyeball. And these guys look fairly relaxed on board and giving Remax a big plug for their sponsorship of that kite. But yeah, it looks very. I don't see a lot of them sitting down to leeward. It doesn't look like an incredible racing team at the moment.
No.
But they're enjoying themselves, and that's what it's all
They'd
about.
definitely be restless right now. That's all I can say.
Yes, yep. Dave Taylor, I think I can see him there, looking resplendent in his walking gear. Look, we've got some wind now starting to fill out in certain positions. If we could get to that drone shot, we'll be able to show you that now. There's a little bit of wind filling in now, and these boats are now starting to pick up speed.
Yeah, that's the Sydney 38 on front. You can see basically often when the wind is not hit by a thermal, it's just what we call a gradient breeze. It sits in cells, and so you can clearly see that there's cells of light wind over there, and then this stronger wind just here. And
big backwind there.
Big backwind, yeah. So that wind's moving around on them. So you get big direction and pressure changes, and that's what we're experiencing here. So this crew will probably be looking to pull that down. They'll try and hang on as long, but I think our leaders are getting very, very close to that turning mark. You can see
awesome
Redcliffe in the background.
That
is an awesome shot of those 40-footers. Hutchie's Yeah Baby, Charisma and Black Diamond all together. It's the Southport Yacht Club posse heading towards, but they've got breeze there.
That's a good little bit of breeze there. As you can see, Charisma is not struggling, but she's certainly got a bit of a heel on her now.
Definitely got some heel on, and I'm wondering where Wedgetail is. He must have popped right out to leeward of that pack and be just right of screen.
So that's a classic example of what we're saying is going to happen with the weather. So this is what we're expecting. So they'll be moving into that new and pressure breeze. Just looking at the observations, it's sort of 8-10 knots. So
yep. Okay, well, let's get a quick look at Windy there for the last time today and just see that what the forecast has got. If we can zoom right in on Moreton Bay here into our team in the truck. Yeah, look, it's
well,
it's obviously it's there.
It's a model, so it's not a measure. So when we're looking at these things, they're doing the modelling, and so the modelling can be caught by local anomalies. We're zooming right in tight. The model is just definitely showing good, strong 15 to 20 knot breeze is coming. We've just got an isolated section here. Whilst we've got beautiful blue skies, we're probably getting a little bit of a close to shore thermal effect, which is counteracting or fighting. It looks like it's east northeast, that thermal apparent, and that's why we're getting sort of slightly two different breezes and slightly more east than forecast. Very quickly we'll get away from the shore and it will be thumping along. But it's, that's the weather. It's never perfectly modelled.
Okay, let's have a final look at the Yacht Tracker today for our broadcast. Of course, you can have a look at these boats and where they're positioned right throughout the race. And looking out in front there is Alive. She's actually, I think she's opened up a little bit even more. So
she's doing 7.3 knots of boat speed. So that's 1 knot more than what Black Diamond was doing. But she's, and it's just updated as well. So 10 knots of boat speed now. So really starting to get going.
Now, those boats have rounded the Redcliffe mark. Correct. As you can see, there's quite a distinct change of course there to the right or to starboard, that being the Redcliffe rounding mark. And I think this is going to be more hard on the wind.
I reckon they're going to have to tack. I don't think they're actually laying into that.
I don't think they're going anywhere near laying that at this point in time.
Yep, so they'll be
there's
tacking.
Your Mayfair. They're doing well.
They are doing well.
Incredibly well. They're probably in that pack with Hutchies and Indigo and whatnot. But that 40 foot to something distance that we spoke about, they're all going to start to condense as well if this breeze increases a little bit with another restart.
I tell you what, if I don't get a beer out of Mark Carter for promoting his boat, Mayfair, in this broadcast when we get to Gladstone, I'll go I tell you. But look at that. There's those 40s. These boys race hard, and they will be seeing each other there. I'm not sure where Black Diamond is in comparison to these boats. Glenn was a little bit disappointed, got caught in some of that fluky conditions at the start, but he should be pushing up in and around those boats by the end of it, I'd say.
I do think that they've all got the potential to be finishing together. You can see a few actually changing head sails to the left of shot here. And that Martin 49 will be well down the track as well. Can see some of the multis too. And they'll start to pick up speed with a bit more breeze. There's Genesis.
Looking lovely. Look at that.
Wow.
You know, wouldn't you imagine cruising up the coast like that? They're going to have a very pleasant time going to Gladstone and have a pleasant time in Gladstone.
Yes.
Probably our first online honours in double-handed as we get on board with Balancing Act.
Yes, from Port Curtis Sailing Club. And those guys, Tony and the team, are working hard. I think that wind's certainly coming around to the east if they're starting to drop heads or drop those kites coming up to the Red Cliff mark. Okay, guys, that's about where we have to leave things today. Just as the excitement starts coming in and the breeze starts filling in, I would like to thank the Gladstone Regional Council for making this broadcast possible year in year for the last 7, maybe even 8. But thank you to the Gladstone Regional Council's Easter in Gladstone and also all of the sponsors that make this event happen. It's a fantastic event. It showcases sailing in Queensland, and if you're from down south, don't forget, join it next year and make it bigger and better. To Nick, to Geordie, thank you so much for your time today. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your Easter. And this has been Nick, Geordie and Grant in the commentary position for the Brisbane to Gladstone 2024. Thank you for watching.